The original Invisible Man appeared in 1897, written by H.G. Wells, the man often called the father of modern science fiction. Since then, the story has been redone, 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 and redone in various ways, but they always seem to retain the name The Invisible Man. This show is no different. It features an invisible man, and it's called The Invisible Man. And any resemblance to H.G. Wells ends right there, so forget it. This is a thoroughly modern story. Sounds like he's already invisible, and it sounds like he's in trouble. We see him make his way to a hospital. Okay, I'm roped in. Let's see where this is going. He heads to the observation lounge above the right operating room.
Nick Maggio. Nick was the only one I'd ever told about my work. And if he couldn't help me, then no one could. As I waited for him to finish, I realized it was the first time that I'd really thought about what I'd done.
And I guess it's time to find out what he did done. Find out what he done. It's flashback time. David McCallum plays Dr. Daniel Weston, and Melinda O. Fee plays his wife, Dr. Kate Weston. They're research scientists at the Clay Corporation, what he calls a glorified think tank, and their specialty is light. How it works, what it's made of, and what you can do with it.
I was working on the transmitting of objects from one place to another using laser beam projection. Teletransportation. Science fiction stuff, if you like, but the Clay Corporation thought enough of my theories to put up the money for a very expensive prototype.
Such as create a teleportation machine with it. He arrives in the lab where Kate informs him that Carlson wants a progress report and he wants it right now.
Walter Carlson was my boss. His way of handling people was about as warm as his corridors. But I had been stalling. I wasn't ready to tell Walter what I was up to because it was an offshoot of the main project.
Translation: he hasn't been working on what he's supposed to have been working on, and he may get a trip to the woodshed. Google it.
Dan, these additional requests, they're absolutely necessary.
Yes.
I'm having a terrible time justifying the price of phase one. That gizmo of yours cost $1.5 million. I've got a budget that looks like 10 pounds of fertilizer in a 9-pound bag.
He has a bigger bag than I do. I usually say something to the effect that I'm trying to cram 2 pounds of stuff into a 1-pound bag. I guess Jackie Cooper was in better shape than I am. It stands to reason he spent most of his movie and TV career in the Navy. He enlisted during World War II and served in the South Pacific. After the war, he stayed with the Navy, making recruiting films. In 1959, he landed the leading role in the TV show Hennessy, a show that was a thinly veiled commercial for the Navy that was quite effective in recruiting young men. He finally retired from the Navy in 1982. He continued acting after that and died in 2011 at the age of 88.
You've been working on teletransportation for 8 months now. You spent $1.5 million. I respected your desire to work in secrecy, but no more.
Well, it's still premature.
Time to let me be the judge of that.
Okay.
Oh, Carlson, you may want to wipe your shoes off. I think that guy is stuck to one of them.
Now, we're working on a process whereby we transport matter from one point to another at the speed of light. In order to do that, we first have to transform that matter, right?
Oh, I would think so, yeah.
We hear lots of clicks and whirs and see stuff moving around, and finally Daniel looks at Carlson and says, "Do you have a pen?" If he doesn't, I have one you can use. Carlson isn't impressed.
That's it? $1.5 million and that's it?
Dan, I think what he's trying to say...
What I'm trying to say is...
What he's trying to say is he doesn't need a translator right now, thank you.
You've been working on this device for 8 months, acting like a guy who's just about to invent the first can opener. And what have you got? A laser disintegrator. Terrific. The Russians have only had one for 18 months. The Pentagon's developed third-generation weaponry based on the principle. And France, in case you didn't know, will have an operational weapon any day now. And lastly, damn it, there was a $50 pen.
This was $8 and it writes just as well as yours. If I pay $50 for a pen, it better do more than just put ink on paper. For that price, it better do the dishes and take the garbage out, too.
Matter can neither be created nor destroyed, remember? Come here. It can, however, be changed into another form.
What is this, a gag?
No, it's the answer to his question. His pen has been rendered invisible.
Go on, try it.
What?
Take the pen.
I don't believe it.
Believe it. Sign those work orders.
Suddenly, Carlson is seeing dollar signs.
Will it work on a man?
It's possible.
Is it a permanent process?
No. I don't know how or why yet, but whatever we make invisible spontaneously appears after several hours. You'll get your pen back this afternoon.
You won't get it back since you already have it. He means you'll be able to see it again. Then you can contemplate the folly of spending $50 on it.
You know what you got here, don't you?
It's an invisible pen.
Don't be cute. What you got here is the ultimate weapon.
Walter...
Invisible soldiers, invisible battalions. Just think of the military advantage
Now, wait
we
a
had.
minute. You gave me your guarantee. I came here because you said I wouldn't have to work on weapons systems anymore. I want to use invisibility in positive ways.
He can't think of any right now, but there have to be some. Carlson doesn't want to hear about maybes, and Daniel doesn't want to hear about broken promises. It sparks a nice argument.
Fire me if you like, but I think he's right. Look, we're arguing application when we should be celebrating a remarkable achievement. We made a commitment. Let's honor it.
You're absolutely right. I'm sorry, Dan.
We'll eventually learn that our peacemaker's name is Richard Steiner, and he's more or less Carlson's yes man. I didn't really think he was stuck to Carlson's shoe.
You got carte blanche. It's your baby. Take as much time as you like. I'll scare up the funds.
Not from the Pentagon.
Not from the Pentagon.
I don't know why I don't believe him, but I don't.
I want a daily progress report on that work and tighten up its security. I don't want any leaks, not even within the company.
I'll take care of it.
Good. And Rick, keep him on the track. You know how it goes in 10 directions at once. I don't want him fooling with all kinds of other junk. I want that system, and I want it fast. Get me General Turner at the Pentagon and use Red Line 2. I want it scrambled.
Mr. Carlson, you've got a lot of other calls.
Just hold it.
Maybe that's why I don't believe him. He couldn't even get back to his office before he started breaking his word. I don't know why Daniel does believe him after that little outburst. He really thinks Carlson is going to give up on the bottomless pockets of the Pentagon and lose a fortune. He forgets that Carlson is a businessman, a money man, not a scientist. His joy of discovery comes when he discovers lots of pictures of dead presidents.
Walter, you gave him your word.
Don't be an ass.
Too bad Steiner's too much of a yes man to do anything about this. In the lab, Daniel and Kate are continuing their experiments.
In our experiments with animals, we had discovered that the time it took for them to return to visibility was unpredictable. We needed control over the periods of invisibility. So I developed a serum which gave us that control.
That's his last hurdle before he tries making a human invisible. With the serum, he can make a living being visible again anytime.
I knew then I could make a man invisible. And I knew that man had to be me. I was ready to take the risk. All I needed was an excuse.
Now, for me, I have got to try this is excuse enough. But I'm not a scientist.
I've had an idea about the serum.
Tell me.
We can use it to fight cancer.
How?
We modify the serum so that it only works on cancerous cells. We make a patient invisible, inject him with the serum. His cancer cells become visible before the rest of his body. That way we can detect cancer long before it would appear on normal x-rays.
If he could pull off something like that in the real world, I would bow down and kiss his feet. The more I learn about that disease, the more convinced I become that Satan himself invented it. Kate is concerned about him because his mind keeps jumping from one thing to another, and she's afraid he's spreading himself too thin. He needs to slow things down a bit. He says, I can't. This is how my brain works, and I can't slow it down. Medication, my man. Medication is your friend. I know because I can empathize. He just described the first 40 years of my life. It's called attention deficit disorder, and it frequently accompanies high intelligence like his. When I got diagnosed and went on medication, for the first time in my life, I could finish something. I could sort things out in my head. I still take medication for it. Turns out antidepressants work best on me, though I take a low dose, just enough to give me control of it. That way I can still multitask, but when I need to zero in on something, I can do it. But it happens when I want it to, not when the thing wants it to. Daniel isn't taking any medication that we know of, so the things are controlling him rather than the other way around. It's 1975, the age when doctors are handing out Ritalin like candy. Get you some, Danny.
My mind was racing. The idea of being invisible. It was all I could think about. I had to try it on myself that very night.
Once again, we'll watch him fire up the machine and listen to all the clicks and whirs and beeps and blurps, and eventually he steps into the machine. Now I'm incredibly jealous. Time to mess with some heads. After much contemplation, he decided it never happened. Then he went home and told his wife all about the thing that never happened. We won't find out what Daniel did all night, but now it's morning. Time to scare the liver out of Kate.
You know I can't read when you do that there.
Well, how about here?
Stop it, Danny. Daniel?
Here's something that is a big departure from the original story.
You make a great cup of coffee, Mrs. Weston.
H.G. Wells's Invisible Man, his name was Griffin, by the way, had to hide out after eating because the food was visible inside him until it was fully digested. That raises a whole different set of questions about his lower digestive tract, but let's avoid that subject. As we can see, Daniel doesn't have that problem. Stuff that goes inside him is as invisible as he is.
Hey!
Don't do this to me.
It's okay. Take it easy.
It's not okay. You had no
Kate,
right.
please.
Where are you?
I'm right here.
I think if she could see him, she'd slap him until his lower digestive tract let go.
Why did you do it? Why?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you like that, but I had to do it. I just had to. And don't worry. I know there's no problem.
How do you know?
I'm fine. I feel great.
What if something goes wrong?
Nothing will, and even if it does, I'll be visible in an hour or so.
But before that happens, he wants her to drive him to the lab so he can try the serum on himself. Why didn't he bring some with him? You tell me and we'll both know.
Modesty compels me to put this on, since my clothes will be appearing much later than the rest of me. Here, syringe.
The blue screen effects are top notch, especially for the time. It's not hard to believe there's an invisible hand holding that syringe. Of course it works.
Dan, that's absolutely incredible.
Congratulations, both of you.
Well, I think congratulations are premature. Dr. Weston, in a most unprofessional display of exuberance, took a totally unnecessary and dangerous risk. I think showboating is the appropriate term.
She's right about the unnecessary risk, but she's wrong about the showboating. Again, being an ADDer, I get him. And more than ever, I wish he'd go on medication. Carlson says, drop by my office later and we'll talk funding.
5 o'clock on the...
Dan! I'd like you to meet General Turner and Colonels Doyle, Lydecker, Captain Fairbanks.
Delighted, Dr. Weston. Walter?
The work was much too important not to let them know about it.
Only now, Carlson lets him know that the Pentagon has been bankrolling him all along and his boss has been lying through his teeth. Daniel won't stand for it.
You sold me out.
Call it what you like. But the decisions regarding who works on what and for whom are made solely by me.
Well, there's just no way I'm going to turn my work over.
Read your contract. The Clay Corporation owns everything you do. You write a letter home to your mother, we own it.
And they own you.
The bottom line is they're paying the freight. They can do what they want. And you can't withhold anything.
Watch me.
People with ethics tend to be a major annoyance to those who have none. But Carlson is learning that it works the other way around, too. He may hold the purse strings, but Daniel is holding the keys to the discovery in his head. Carlson has put some security on the lab door, but it won't help him get control of things because Daniel is the only one who knows how to make all that stuff work.
2 armed guards. Oh, I blew it, Kate. I really blew it. I should have seen it coming and I didn't.
Stop blaming yourself.
If only I'd listened to you. If only I'd moved more slowly, this would never have happened.
Yes, it would have, sooner or later. I'm proud of you for what you said to them. Did you know that?
Carlson would have betrayed him no matter when he made the discovery. It was in his plan all along, and he did a good job of hiding it from them.
What do you want?
Can I come in?
Oh, Richard, I'm sorry. Yes, of course you can.
Thanks.
He wants to beg Daniel to reconsider. He came here on his own. Carlson doesn't know he's here.
Look, I'm on your side.
Are you?
Why do you think he left you alone as long as he did? You know him. He does what he wants. Neither of us is in a position to stop him. I stalled him.
Daniel won't budge. He won't do anything for the military. Any military.
If you're not back tomorrow, Carlson will bring a team right in. Now, it'll take him time, but they'll figure it out.
Not if I destroy it first.
You can't be serious. Your work's too important to talk about destroying it.
Important to whom and why? We already know the answer, and Daniel isn't having it.
Why? It's all in my head. And I'd like to see Walt move a team in up here.
Don't joke about it. If he has to, he can do that, too.
Yes, well, before I'd let him do that, I'd go public. I'd spill the beans.
If you think he'd let you do that, you're being naive. Come here.
There's a team of goons watching his house. To make matters worse, the phone is tapped. This guy is really pulling out all the stops. There must be several tons of money riding on this, and most of it will probably find its way into his pocket, which was also the plan from the beginning.
Look, there's a side of this business you've never seen before, either of you. And normally wouldn't see, but there's too much at stake here. Look, your only hope is to go in there, kiss his ring, and fight for what you believe in from the inside.
There's a time to do that, and there's a time to move to the outside and fight. A couple of figures from the Protestant Reformation provide a good example. Martin Luther got fed up with all the corruption being put on trial and all that, and broke with the powers that be and started fighting from the outside. Erasmus, on the other hand, got fed up with the corruption and started writing against it. He was a big enough figure that even Rome had to tread softly around him, so he got away with it. Each was fighting corruption in his own way, and who's to say if one or the other is right or wrong? You evaluate the situation and respond as best you can. That's what Daniel needs to do right now. He says, I need time to think.
It isn't easy with the Gestapo out there.
I'll see what I can do.
Richard has a lot more authority than most people realize. Thing is, he's very good at keeping his head down while he exercises it. He'll go talk to the watchers.
It's got to be now. I'll never get another chance. You do understand that, don't you?
Yes. I'm just a little scared, that's all.
Yeah, so am I.
At the moment, that's probably a healthy thing. While Richard keeps the guys in the car occupied, Daniel slips out the door, through several nice backyards, and far away from prying eyes. At Clay, he knows the grounds well enough to slip past the guards.
I have red alert indicated at the south perimeter of the grounds. Do you confirm?
Maybe he doesn't know the grounds as well as he thought he did.
I'm sorry to interrupt your meeting, sir, but we seem to have a break-in. Whoever it is tripped the silent alarm. No, sir, we don't know yet.
It doesn't really matter now. He's in the lab and firing up the machine. First, become invisible so he can sneak out of here when he's done. This time he will remember to grab some serum and a syringe. When that's done, it's time for the machine. Carlson is pounding at the door with 11 security guards, but the door is heavy steel. It won't open easily, or in time. And besides, even if they had gotten in before the machine did that, they don't know how to shut it down. So it really doesn't matter. Carlson loses regardless. Feel free to show that to the General Carlson. I'm sure he'll whip out his checkbook on the spot. He has them search the room for an invisible man, as if Daniel is stupid enough to hang around 1 second longer than it took them to get the door open and get out of his way. Carlson has to have found some way to finagle his way to the top of this outfit, because as far as I can see, he sure didn't get there on brains. On the other hand, it's possible I give Daniel too much credit too. Why didn't he hide by the door and slip out the moment they came in? I think I have the answer to my question. He wanted to stay around and screw with him a little. Okay, I can appreciate that. And now that he's out the door and on the loose, do they really think they're going to find him? Good luck catching him now. All he has to do is leave that Jeep somewhere and start walking, and you'll never know which way he went.
Which way did it go, George? Which way did it go?
I ditched the Jeep, made my way back home on foot. But by the time I got there a few hours later, we had company.
He had to know that was coming, didn't he?
Standing there wondering what to do, I suddenly realized that I'd lost all track of time. I was becoming visible.
Well, that's a problem.
I'd like a room, Chief.
Single, double, poolside view, you name it,
Just
we
a
got
room,
it.
any room.
One with 4 walls, a ceiling, and a floor. Everything else is negotiable. In the room, he puts in a quick call to Kate.
The phone.
I know. I just wanted you to know that I'm all right.
Danny?
I love you. Bye.
He sounds all right. It's not hard for us to figure out what's happening to him, but it'll take him a little longer.
no.
And this time it's just his body, not his clothes, which means if he has to go anywhere, he'll need to go naked. Worse, the serum isn't working. He may be stuck like this. And the transition isn't quite as smooth as it usually is.
Hey, mister, you got a guy in room 116, sounds like he's dying.
Apparently that scream was the first of many.
Open up in there!
He has a pass key and it sounds like a wrecking ball is hitting the place. They find a trashed room and nobody in it. Daniel slips out and starts running. He's cold, duh, so he follows a blind man into the man's house.
Who's in here? I can hear you. I know you're here.
Don't be frightened. I won't hurt you.
I don't have much money, but you can have what I got.
No, just give me something to eat.
The word please goes a long way in situations like this, Daniel.
If I feed you, will you go?
Not right away. I can't leave until morning.
On the run, huh?
Stop asking so many questions. I've told you I won't hurt you. Isn't that enough?
Again, you'll get a lot further with most people by asking rather than berating. I know Fred McMurray was the original absent-minded professor, but Daniel could give him a run for his money.
How would you like a nice shot of brandy?
Yeah, I could use some.
Well, the only thing you're going to get from me, you punk, is a bullet in the kisser if you make a move! I can hear you.
Now see, if you'd been nice about it, asked him for help, explained that you're cold and hungry, maybe he would have been more inclined to treat you decently. I have to emphasize yet again that the word please can be very useful when you need something from someone else. Even if Daniel's mother didn't teach him that, Kate should have by now. So now he's cold, hungry, and he has a bullet wound. He's off to find Dr. Nick Maggio, who is currently performing a skin graft, which is where we came in.
That's good work, Nick. Could have been great work. If they'd let me use my Dermafix.
Well, maybe someday.
Yeah, maybe someday.
That derma, whatever he said, is his own invention, sort of a replacement skin. Dr. Maggio is our old friend Henry Darrow. We've seen him a lot on this channel in numerous different roles, but he'll always be Manolito Montoya on High Chaparral to me. That's how perfectly he fit into that role. Daniel catches up to his friend, leaving droplets of red paint everywhere he goes.
Nick?
Who's there?
It's Daniel.
Daniel? Where are you?
I'm here.
Come on. Where?
I think you found him. He's not asking too many questions, especially when he learns Daniel has been shot. Back to his place to patch him up. Since Nick can't see him to clean the wound, he'll have to do it himself.
Yeah.
He lost a lot of blood, but the wound isn't deep. Wrap it up with some gauze and he'll be okay in a few days. Nick can also loan him some clothes so his hoo-ha doesn't freeze off.
How about a drink?
Thanks. Oh, that wasn't very clever.
No harm done, that's okay.
Do you have any old gloves?
Gloves?
I keep misjudging the distance to things when I can't see my hands.
Don't feel bad. I do that when I can see my hands. The scientific term for it is basic clumsiness.
As I stood there watching Nick put the gloves on my hands, I knew that I could never spend the rest of my life invisible. I had assumed Nick could help me. But could he? Now is the time to find out.
He relates the whole story and says, I can't stay like this. I need Kate if I'm going to get out of this mess. She can't come to me. Her phone is tapped and she's being watched. So I have to go to her. Uh-huh. Like that.
You don't even have a plane. Well, you think about it. You almost got killed getting here. Now, how are you going to get back? Like that?
Well, maybe I do have a plan. Maybe that's why I came here in the first place.
What are you talking about?
Well, you're a plastic surgeon. Build me a face.
I have to stress one more time that even with friends who clearly know you well, the word please, along with a more polite tone, goes a long way toward getting you what you want. You don't make people want to help you by biting their heads off.
Impossible.
In your last letter, you wrote to me and told me you've developed a capability. What did you call it? Dermaplex?
Sure, but my method is a grafting process. It's strictly for surgical situations.
And why can't you modify it?
Oh, sure. Why didn't he think of that? He'll just hop online and find the right mod and fix you all up. Really, Daniel?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know.
Dr. Maggio developed this Dermaplex, which, as I said, is a kind of artificial substitute for real skin, so we know he likes a challenge. In spite of the rudeness, Daniel just gave him one.
Would have to be realistic enough to fool even the closest observer.
Well, if anybody can do it, you can. You're one of the best around.
No, the best around. Okay. I'll take the shot.
As I said, a challenge. He also has special contacts made for Daniel's eyes. That's a good thing because you know how sometimes you can look into a person's eyes and it seems like there's nobody in there? Yeah, the contacts are a good thing to have.
That is great. Okay, close them.
Of course, the rest of the face is a good thing to have too. The effect of Dr. Maggio painting the Dermaplex onto Daniel's missing face makes the whole thing worth watching because it's so well done. At last, everything is finished, including the hairpiece and caps for his teeth. It's time for the ultimate test.
Danny! Oh, Danny!
It's okay, I'm back.
Did they see you?
Who?
The men watching the house.
Oh, I checked. There's no one out there.
I've been so worried about you. Where have you been?
At Nick's?
Nick Maggio's?
Mm-hmm. I missed you.
Oh, Danny.
She hasn't noticed. Nick really is the best.
Are you all right?
Oh, I am now that you're home. Danny, what's the matter?
It's a mask.
And a good one because she didn't realize something wasn't right until she touched it. If it can fool her, it can fool anybody. He explains that he's still invisible and his only hope of being visible again is to go back to Clay and start the work all over. She's not really listening. This is too much all at once.
Are you hungry?
Well, I could use some coffee.
He told her, "Don't go soft on me." She just learned that her husband is invisible. The face she's loved for years is a fake. They may have to go grovel before Carlson. He's all concerned about what it's done to him, but he's not thinking about what it's doing to her. Picture her introducing him at parties. "And this is my husband, Daniel. I'm over here." Now stop that.
You can't trust him.
He doesn't know I'm invisible. That's my ace. I can get away if I have to.
Of course Carlson will take him back.
What made you change your mind?
Well, I had time to think while I was away. I came to the conclusion that running didn't solve anything.
Running didn't solve anything. Just like that, you figured it out.
I was away from the two most important things in my life. My wife and my work.
He's hoping their two worlds have reached a point where they can be compatible. Carlson has some thoughts about that.
I hope so too, my friend. Because in the real world, you cost me $2 million, a lot of time, and the supreme embarrassment of having everyone in the trade know we perfected invisibility.
You mean the embarrassment of everyone knowing he perfected invisibility and you lost it?
How?
Because in the real world, yours and mine, there are spies. Countries have spies, companies have spies. The underworld has spies. Everybody wants you now. And if they can't have you alive, they'll settle for you dead.
It should be obvious that no spies got anything from Daniel or Kate, so you must be the leak. You're fired, Walter.
Oh, by the way, under the circumstances, you can call your men off now.
What men?
Well, the surveillance on Kate.
I haven't been watching Kate.
Well, she says the phone's tapped, the house is
Oh,
being
not
watched.
true, not true. She's just imagining it. She'll get over it. Right. See you in the morning.
First thing.
If he says it's not happening, watch your back. It's definitely happening. On the other hand, if he isn't watching them, who is?
Oh, hi. It went okay. We start work.
Welcome home, Dan.
What is this?
This is a gun. I'm not totally at ease with it, but my associate there is, so please no sudden moves.
He can see what that is. He wants to know what this is.
Oh, go home, Richard. I've just been with Carlson. We go back to work at the lab.
This has nothing to do with Carlson. I'm here on someone else's behalf.
They're the ones who've been watching me all along.
Yeah, it's worked out very nicely, too. Kate tells me you've successfully completed your work.
She didn't have much choice. He says, we're going to take a ride to where my people are.
Well, I'm afraid they're going to be disappointed.
We know how committed you are to your point of view. That's why we're taking Kate with us. You may not care about your own welfare, but the threat to Kate's should compel you to cooperate fully.
Do you know what you're doing?
Of course I do.
I don't understand. Why?
$10 million in the proverbial numbered Swiss account, that's why.
He actually thinks his people will let him live to spend it. They never learn.
Now, Richard, you really had me fooled. The last person in the world I thought would sell out.
Everyone sells out. Carlson to the Pentagon, you to some outdated sense of morality, and me to money.
Pardon me, but Carlson sold out to money too. The Pentagon is just the source. Whereas Daniel is a lot like me, money is a tool. It's something you use to acquire what you want or need. People get into trouble when they make money into an end in itself, a way to keep score. He who has the most is the best. But what good is having it? It has no value unless you're exchanging it for something. You got $1 million in your mattress. I got 1,000,000 rocks in my backyard, and right now they're worth just as much. Maybe Richard does plan to spend it and lead the high life, but I doubt he'll even live to get a good look at it. By the time anybody realizes what's happening, it's too late. You only thought you understood the expression stripped down to nothing.
He's getting out!
You stay with her.
I wonder how Richard proposes to find him.
He got out. We gotta find him.
Never mind, that guy found him.
Get in the front.
No, come back here. Come back.
As we know, finding him and keeping him are two different things, but there's no way that van can outrun their car.
Get out and find a phone. As soon as they've gone past, call Carlson. Hurry, please.
He can always ditch the van and hide anywhere. That's what you get for transporting him in a van full of napalm, Richard. Daniel got out, of course.
A man back there, before he died, he kept mumbling something about Dan being invisible. Is that possible? Come on, Kate. We've combed every inch of that van and can't find a body.
Then he got out.
But how did he get out?
Presumably, he opened the door and climbed out. Duh.
Was he still invisible? Please, Kate, you've
Wait,
got to
leave
tell
me
me.
alone.
No, not before you
Get your
tell me.
hands off
I've
me.
just got to...
When a lady says get your hands off, Walter.
If you get up, I'll only knock you down again.
Dan?
You don't want to make a spectacle of yourself in front of all these people, do you?
Why did you hit me?
Why did he hit you? Let me count the reasons. For starters, you were hurting his wife. For another, you were hurting his wife. To make matters worse, you were hurting his wife. Are you writing this down?
Give Kate the keys to your car.
Dan, what went wrong? We've got to talk.
We'll talk when I'm ready to talk. Just give her the keys.
Dan! I'm really on your side.
Yeah, I hope so, Walter.
What side would that be? What do you mean by that? Guys like him love their vague generalizations and nebulous statements. And when you try to pin them down to specifics, such as what he's willing to do to prove he's done with the Pentagon as far as Daniel's work is concerned, they usually change the subject. Here's a little game for you that anybody can play. The next time you hear a politician talk, I don't care who it is or what party they are or what the subject is, pick out and count the vague generalities that could mean almost anything. You'll be surprised, and you'll probably be a little angry.
What do we do now, Dr. Weston?
Well, we go home and improvise.
That's their code for,
I've never spent the night with an invisible man before.
With the lights out, you'll never know the difference.
Fair point. With the lights out, you're both invisible, and groping around to find each other is part of the fun. This is a good pilot. It introduces everybody we need to know, sets up the scenario in a seamless way, gives us a twist that I, for one, didn't see coming, and again, the effects are outstanding. That scene with his eyes creeps me out every time I watch it. We end with a tense alliance between Daniel and Carlson, the kind that could disintegrate into open warfare at the slightest provocation. We have a goal and we have the means to begin working toward it. This has everything that a pilot episode should, including plenty of action. Not only did I not see Richard's betrayal coming, I also didn't see his quick end coming. I figured there'd be a car crash and then some fighting or something, but we chose to remove Richard in spectacular fashion. Not necessarily totally believable fashion, but spectacular. A lot of work went into making this pilot into exactly what it's supposed to be, and it gives us a lot of promise for the rest of the series. As we know, that promise didn't materialize, and the show made its way onto TV fails. What happened? I don't know. I haven't watched the rest of it yet. So starting next time, we'll find out together. Until then. But they always seem to retain the title. And most of it will probably find its way into his pocket. Its way. Through several nice dark backyards, that is. Daniel slips out the... Okay, Daniel slips out... Okay, come on, get the inflection right. He sounds... Wrap it up with gauze and he'll... Slow down. He's hoping their two worlds have reached a point where they can be... The embarrassment of everyone knowing he... Slow down. Right now, they're worth just as much. Yes! He who has the most is the best. Man. Someday I'll learn to pronunciate English. But I doubt he'll even live to see it get... Oh, come on! Having it. It is... Come on, read the line. Why did he hit you? Let me count the wheel. Kitty, kitty, kitty. Well, come here, baby girl. Hey, you. Well, come see Daddy. Well, come here, silliness. She's not going to do it. Okay.